In As Above, So Below, a group of explorers find more than just darkness and claustrophobia in the catacombs beneath Paris. Instead, they're forced to face the sins of their past. But is As Above just another found footage film, or is it actually a modern retelling of Dante's Inferno? Hi guys, I hope you're all doing really well. My name is Sarah and welcome to What the Horror, the channel where we talk about horror movies old and new. In this episode, we're looking at found footage horror film As Above, So Below, released in 2014, directed by John Eric Dowdle and starring Perdita Weeks and Ben Feldman. As Above, So Below follows archaeologist Scarlett, who has devoted her life to finding one of history's greatest treasures, Nicolas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone. According to legend, the stone can turn base metals into gold and grant eternal life. When she learns that the stone is hidden underground, she assembles a crew to guide her through the catacombs beneath the streets of Paris and document her historic find. As they begin their descent, the team members have no way of knowing the dangers that await them. While As Above, So Below may seem like just another found footage film on first appearance, it is in fact a layered exploration of mythology, redemption, and a modern portrayal of the 14th century poem Dante's Inferno. As Above educates its audience as it blends historical fact with myths and legends, such as the exploration of the Paris catacombs and pursuit of Nicolas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone. As Above also delves into the theme of personal redemption, weaving in an allegorical study of Dante's Inferno and the characters, Dante and Virgil's journey and trials through the 9 circles of hell, as each character in the film is confronted with their past sins or guilt. The combination of these elements with the horrors found in the claustrophobic darkness of the Paris catacombs elevates the film beyond the conventional horror story, becoming an exploration of what it means to face the darkness within ourselves as well as facing the darkness around us. As Above, So Below is steeped in allegorical connections to Dante's Inferno, weaving its narrative through the symbolic descent into the 9 circles of hell. Dante's journey through the realms is a moral and spiritual trial where souls are condemned to face their sins in grotesque and eternal punishments. Similarly, the film's protagonists traverse the Paris catacombs, descending into a progressively nightmarish environment that forces them to confront their personal sins and guilt. For those of you who don't know, Dante's Inferno is the first part of 14th century poet Dante's epic poem called the Divine Comedy, chronicling a fictionalized version of Dante's journey through the 9 circles of hell. Guided by the Roman poet Virgil, Dante ventures into a dark and treacherous underworld, beginning in the vestibule of hell, where the souls of the indecisive wander aimlessly. As they descend deeper, they encounter progressively grave sins and their corresponding punishments, each circle tailored to a specific transgression. The circles, in order, punish sins of lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery. At the very core of hell, in the 9th circle, resides Lucifer, eternally frozen in ice. This structure of escalating torment reflects the belief that sin becomes increasingly damaging as it distances the soul from divine love. The initial stages of the descent in the film mirror the vestibule of hell, where indecisive souls are punished for their lack of commitment. George's reluctance to join the group and his ultimate compulsion to enter the catacombs after the arrival of the police reflect this state of limbo. The catacombs themselves embody the chaos and disorientation of Dante's hell. The labyrinth tunnels shift and rearrange as if alive, making the group feel they are moving in circles while they are actually descending further forward. These unsettling phenomena suggest that the characters are not merely navigating physical spaces, but are being drawn deeper into a supernatural realm that reflects their inner guilt and sins. Early in their journey, the group encounters strange objects from their past, such as a piano and a ringing telephone, that tie to their unresolved traumas, further grounding the narrative in Dantean themes of self-confrontation and moral reckoning. In Dante's Inferno, the phrase "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here" appears inscribed on the gates of hell, serving as a grim warning to souls about to embark on their eternal torment. It signifies the certain loss of hope for redemption or escape. marking the threshold between the living world and the realm of the damned. The same inscription is prominently featured in As Above, So Below. It is found inscribed above a tunnel entrance that forces the characters to crawl through. This prompts Scarlett to remember the title of a Renaissance painting titled, "They shall be made to crawl on their bellies to enter the kingdom of darkness." This is in reference to an entry in the Bible, Genesis 3:14. This inscription, paired with the imagery of the painting, is the trigger of Scarlett's realization that there may be more going on than what first appeared. Its inclusion underscores the film's central theme, that the journey is not merely physical, but a confrontation of sin. Unlike the damned souls in Dante's Inferno, however, the characters still have a chance for redemption if they can understand what's going on and rectify their wrongs. Key elements of Dante's Inferno mirror themes found in As Above, So Below. In the poem, Dante must confront his fears and past misdeeds to progress, much like the characters in the film, who face manifestations of their guilt and sin as they journey deeper into the Paris catacombs. As the group descends, they encounter increasingly personal and violent manifestations of their guilt, similar to the punishments faced by souls in Dante's Inferno. Although here, the film differs to the poem, because in the film, the characters are not knowingly and willingly journeying through hell, so they are less forearmed. They must first come to the realization that they are being tested and that the horrors they face are not random, but deeply tied to their own sins and guilt, forcing them to confront the truth about themselves in order to survive. We see that illegal guide Papillon's motivation to enter the catacombs are driven by sin, that of lust and greed for supposed treasures that the group will find in the tunnels. So we see this character is already marred by sin, but his eventual demise comes when he sees the vision of a burning car with a man inside, a clear callback to an unresolved guilt he denies with the words, "It wasn't my fault." As soon as he says this, the man pulls Papillon into the car and both men and car vanish into the earth, symbolizing Papillon's inability to escape his sin. Similarly, Susie is killed earlier at the hands of a character named the Mole. The Mole is a friend of Papillon's and Susie's who went missing years ago after entering a so-called bad tunnel. It is mentioned that Susie had the most emotional connection to the Mole, and so we can infer that her guilt is tied to not trying harder to find him after he went missing. On the character's descent into the catacombs, they surprisingly cross paths with the Mole, who is now meant to represent lost and corrupted souls. Scarlett's journey is the most explicit parallel to Dante's. Scarlett acts as a duality of both Virgil, the guide, and Dante, a soul seeking redemption. Her sin is the guilt she feels over the death of her father who took his own life. Scarlett is repeatedly tormented with visions of her father, nooses, and ringing telephones. Scarlett's turning point comes when she realizes that rectification and acknowledgement of guilt are the keys to their salvation and their survival. By returning the Philosopher's Stone and addressing her father in a moment of catharsis, she embraces her sins, transforming her journey from one of selfish pursuit to spiritual redemption. Scarlett's final actions, healing a dying George, confronting her own guilt, urging the rest of the group to face their own sins and guilt and to leap into the unknown, culminate in the ultimate act of faith and redemption. This mirrors Dante's emergence from hell, transformed and enlightened after his own trials. The trio's leap into the hall symbolizes their acceptance of their flaws, their trust in Scarlett's knowledge, and the possibility of their redemption and ultimate survival. The final escape, climbing up through an upside-down manhole onto the streets of Paris, visually and thematically mirrors Dante's ascent to earthly paradise after exiting hell. The journey through the catacombs is not just a descent into darkness and horrors, but a path towards self-discovery and absolution, making As Above, So Below a modern reflection of Dante's Inferno and its themes of sin, punishment, and redemption. While Dante's Inferno is the setting for the exploration of sin and redemption, it is the mythology surrounding the Philosopher's Stone that is the catalyst for everything that happens in the film. The Philosopher's Stone is a mythic alchemical substance that is believed to have had the power to turn base metals into gold and could be used to create an elixir of life which granted immortality. For centuries, it was the goal of many alchemists known as the magnus opus, meaning great work. It was the ultimate symbol in the mystical language of alchemy, representing absolute perfection, divine enlightenment, and transcendent bliss. Legend has it that a 15th century French scribe and alchemist named Nicolas Flamel achieved his life goal of creating the stone. While records confirm that there was indeed a Nicolas Flamel who lived in Paris and worked as a manuscript seller, posthumous myths elevated him to a near mythical status. According to legend, Flamel achieved immortality and great wealth through the stone's power, an idea reinforced when his grave was found empty by grave robbers centuries after his death. The cryptic carvings on his self-designed and self-carved tombstone are rumoured to contain clues as to the whereabouts of the stone. In As Above, So Below, Flamel and the stone are the mythology driving the story's events. Scarlett, the film's protagonist, is the daughter of an esteemed historian of alchemy whose life's work was the search for the Philosopher's Stone. Following in her father's footsteps, Scarlett has also dedicated her life to the pursuit, despite the warnings of others, including a friend of hers in Iran who cautions her that this quest leads to madness, and that everyone who searches for the stone winds up dead. It's her determination that leads our group of characters on their fateful journey through the catacombs, after she and her friend George decipher the clues on Flamel's tombstone carving. As the group descends, the film continues to draw on alchemy symbolism tied to the legend of the stone. In one section of the catacombs, they find an inscription of the word vitriol, an alchemy acronym that Scarlett translates as "visit the interior parts of the earth, and by rectification thou shalt find the hidden stone." This phrase, while based in alchemy and the stone, also ties into the mirroring of the descent into the 9 circles of hell and the theme of redemption for past sins. Then, when they find the chamber believed to contain the stone, they're faced with a test. Think Cave of Wonders from Aladdin.
Touch nothing but the lamb.
In the room, there is a pile of treasure and gold that is to tempt them away from the stone, but if they touch it, then the ceiling begins to fall in. Of course, we've already learnt that Papillon's motivation is treasure, and so he touches it, triggering the ceiling. Looking for a way out, Scarlett sees an image painted on the wall that she explains is the representation of As Above, So Below. According to Scarlett, it is the key to all magic. What is within me is outside of me, as it is on earth, so it is in heaven. As I am, so are my selves. As I believe the world, so it is. But it also encapsulates the film's theme of duality and reflection of self. This idea that inner transformation mirrors external change becomes central to the story as the character's journey becomes less about the literal Philosopher's Stone and much more about their own redemption. Ultimately, the Philosopher's Stone serves as both the catalyst for their descent and a metaphor for their spiritual transformation. Scarlett as a character embodies a complex duality, acting as both the leader of the group through their descent, but also as a seeker of redemption just like the others. As the film is a mirror of Dante's Inferno, Scarlett assumes roles of both Dante, the flawed human forced to face past sins, and Virgil, the intellectual guide. This dual role is reflected in her evolution from arrogance and overconfidence to humility and self-awareness, forming a modern interpretation of the hero's journey. Our introduction to Scarlett perfectly sets the tone of her personality, a daring and intellectual woman with a reckless confidence in her own ability and knowledge. She films herself sneaking across the Syrian border to explore a cave system that is due to be destroyed. She is fully aware of the life-threatening risks and displays an almost cavalier attitude by saying they'd have to catch me first. Even when warned of the dangers by a friend, Scarlett is undeterred, narrowly escaping death while recovering the Rose Key, an essential artifact in her pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone. Her obsession and self-assurance are so consuming that we also later learn they have endangered others, including her ex-boyfriend George, who is imprisoned in Turkey because of her actions. Scarlett's intellectual hubris is a reoccurring theme. Her determination to rely on knowledge above all else often leads to conflict with others. For example, when Papillon, the guide with first-hand experience of the catacombs, warns against taking a particular tunnel, Scarlett insists on following her interpretation of the map. Papillon's frustrated remark, "You think because you saw it in a book, you know it," underscores her tendency to prioritize theoretical knowledge over practical wisdom. This arrogance, born of her self-confidence and education, drives the group into increasingly dangerous situations. While Scarlett's obsession and hubris act as the catalyst for the film's events, she is not devoid of redeeming qualities. She is deeply caring and protective, as evidenced by her efforts to calm Benji during his panic attack and assist him with his equipment. However, her ambition and fixation on the Philosopher's Stone often override her sense of responsibility and compassion. There is a clear duality to her actions. Her intellect both creates and resolves problems. Scarlett's journey becomes one of self-awareness and redemption. While her arrogance initially drives her, she ultimately learns to face her deepest guilt, acknowledging her feelings surrounding her father's death. This moment of reckoning allows her to transform a self-serving seeker of glory into a selfless guide for the group. In this sense, she mirrors Dante's personal journey of redemption, while also embodying Virgil's role as a guide, one who uses her knowledge not for personal gain, but to lead others to safety. This transformation highlights her complexity and cements her role as both a hero and a flawed human navigating the literal and metaphorical hell of the catacombs. So that is a deep dive into As Above, So Below, a found footage that blends mythology, history, and psychological horror. Below its surface level horrors, it challenges the audience to look inward and confront our deepest guilt and darkest sins. As it weaves together the quest for Flamel's stone, a modern exploration of Dante's Inferno, the sins and redemption of the characters, and a terrifying descent into the catacombs, it creates a story that is more about the human condition and less about simply surviving. Scarlett's duality of intellect and humility also shows the price of obsession. As Above, So Below leaves us with a question. If forced to descend into the depths of our own personal hell, would we emerge changed, or would we remain lost to the darkness? I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into As Above, So Below. As always, please let me know your thoughts on the film down below. If you're new here to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and to check out my back catalogue of other film deep dives. And if you would like extra content on top of everything that you get here on this channel, then there is a link to my Patreon page in the description box below. But in the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye!